My sister, the one Mom always called her miracle, ended up with it all, our house, the bank accounts, the jewelry, because she was the child they waited 11 long years for. And that so-called miracle? She turned around, sold the house, kicked our parents out, packed her bags for New York, and returned flat broke. She stood in my kitchen one evening, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "If you vanished right now, no one would miss you. This place should be mine now." I didn't argue. I just whispered, "Great. Then I'll disappear, with my money." Later that night, their credit card started getting declined, her car vanished, and a letter showed up, no return address, just cold finality. Standing in that same kitchen, which used to carry the warm smells of roasted coffee and cardamom, I muttered to myself, this was never really my home, was it? It was the very same kitchen where Mom once taught me how to stir a stew slow enough not to scorch the onions. Now Lena stood there instead, barefoot, hollow-eyed, and acting like she owned the place. Technically, she did. She leaned against the counter, sipping my almond milk like it was her birthright. "You're lucky," she told me. "Mom said I was the miracle they waited 11 years for." That word again, miracle. Like I was some early accident, and she was the grand prize that finally arrived. Lena, my baby sister, born more than a decade after me, right when Mom was about to give up on having more kids. She was their little miracle. The favorite. She walked away with everything. The house, Mom's jewelry, the family savings, even the stocks. I got a courteous thank you note when they split everything up while I was working 60 hours a week just to cover rent. I never made a fuss. Not even when they roped me into co-signing Lena's first credit card. Not when Mom told me, "Your sister deserves this. She's still figuring things out." I kept sending money when rent was due, when her boyfriend disappeared with her savings, when she needed to start over again. And then about a year ago, she sold the house. Our childhood home. The one with the lemon tree Dad planted for me when I turned 10. She didn't tell anyone. Just sold it. Moved our parents into a cramped little condo, and jetted off to New York, full of dreams and high-end luggage. That fantasy lasted 6 months. Now she's back. Flat broke. Angry. Entitled. And tonight, she said something that crossed a line I didn't even know I had. Standing in my kitchen, my house, she looked at me with disgust and said, "If you vanished right now, we wouldn't even miss you. This house should be mine." I didn't flinch. Didn't yell. I just whispered, "Perfect. I'll disappear. But I'm taking my money with me." That night, I made 3 calls. By sunrise, Lena's car was gone. Their shared credit card stopped working. Then came the letter. No return address. No pleasantries. Just cold facts. Lena was born when I was 11. Back then, they called her a miracle. To me, it felt like the day my life stopped belonging to me. Before she came along, I was the kid who mattered. Mom hugged me for A's. My art made it to the fridge. Dad used to say I had a mind like an engineer and let me help him with repairs around the house. I had dreams, maybe I'd take over Grandpa's shop one day. Then Mom got pregnant. Unexpectedly. Miraculously. And suddenly I was just a rough draft. Lena came out crying and didn't stop. From the moment she arrived, she was the sun we were all expected to orbit. She got the fancy nursery, her name on the door in gold letters. I got shuffled into the attic. She'd toss food and Mom would laugh. She failed math? Mom blamed the teacher. She'd lie, break things, play games. "She's just sensitive," Mom would say. And when I dared to speak up, "You're older," Mom snapped. "Be patient. Be grateful." So I learned to keep quiet. I became the dependable one. The one no one noticed. While Lena had one meltdown after another, I was the one holding everything together. Started working at 14. Got my first paycheck at 15, and Mom used it for Lena's ballet classes. Every win I had just served as a backdrop to her endless drama. College? I paid every dime myself. Worked 2 jobs. Skipped every vacation. No phone calls from home. Lena dropped out of community college, and Mom threw her a party to celebrate self-discovery. I graduated with honors. No one came. Then Grandpa passed away. That house we both grew up in should have come to me. I fixed the plumbing. Painted the walls. I spent summer days sanding that porch with Grandpa, while Lena took selfies next to the lemon tree I planted. But when the will was read, the house went to Mom. And before I could blink, it was Lena's. She needs a foundation, Mom said. She's delicate. Delicate? She was 26. I was 37, paying off my own mortgage, sending money home anytime Dad got sick or something broke. But Lena? She needed a new beginning. So she sold the house. Quietly. Made over $900,000. Moved our folks into a shoebox in a sketchy part of town. And took off to New York. Out there, she reinvented herself as an artist. Posted filtered photos from overpriced coffee shops, ranted online about toxic people, and blew through money like the city owed her something. Bought a Tesla. Dropped cash on luxury skincare. Paid $4,200 a month in rent. And the whole time I kept sending money back home, because Lena forgot. I didn't say a word at first. Then, 6 months later, she came stumbling back into my life, broke, alone, bleach blonde, and wearing my hoodie like it was hers by birthright. You know, she said, tossing her suitcase right onto my floor like it was a hotel room, I always hated that house. And honestly, you ruined it. She said I made it stiff. Lifeless. No plants, no vibe, no warmth, she added. But this place? Your place? It's got a pulse. I just stood there, completely still. She wandered into my kitchen like she owned it, opened the fridge, and grabbed the last almond milk carton. You've always struggled with sharing, she said, drinking straight from it. But it's fine. I'm home now. That word hit me sideways. She was pacing the floor like a predator sensing blood. Mom says you've always had this hoarding energy, she went on. Not just with money, everything. You suck people in and give nothing back. That's why no one stays close to you. Why people forget you. Then she locked eyes with me, serious as death. I deserve this house more than you. I'm the miracle, remember? You're just filler. It felt like getting hit by a freight train at full speed. But I didn't yell. I didn't kick her out. I didn't even blink. I leaned in just enough to say, perfect. And that night I made my move. Quietly. Just 3 phone calls. By sunrise, her car was gone. Her credit cards? Shut down. The joint account our parents used? Cleared out. Then a courier showed up at Mom's condo with a single letter. No return address. Just one sentence inside. The miracle is over. Clean up your own mess. For the first time I could remember, I felt like I could finally breathe. The house was dead quiet the next morning, except for someone pacing. The floor creaked under every agitated step. Cupboard doors slammed open, then shut. By the time I walked into the kitchen, Lena was already unraveling. My cards are frozen, she snapped. I tried to pay for groceries and they declined. At first, I thought it was a glitch, she said, voice rising. But then I checked my account. It's empty. And where the hell is my car? That wasn't a question. It was an accusation. You selfish jerk, she growled. You cut me off? I calmly took a sip of coffee, like I'd done it 100 times. No, I said. I finally removed you from my life. Her nose flared, fists clenched. You don't get to just erase me, she hissed. I'm your sister. No, I said quietly, setting the mug down. You're a parasite. She leaned in, eyes blazing. You've always thought you were better than me. No, I said. You just always thought Mom loving you more made you special. She did love me more. Lena barked. I let out a dry laugh. She didn't love you. She sacrificed me to make room for you. That's not love. That's guilt management. You're disgusting, she spat. Mom was right to give me the house. You've always been cold. Distant. I brought them joy, she said. You just brought the bills. I stepped toward her. You sold their home without telling them, I said. You shoved them into a shoebox apartment. Then you burned through everything they gave you and came back to me, begging. Now you're furious because I finally said no. She screamed, you don't say no to family. That's the problem, I said. That's exactly why this family is broken. No one ever said no. Right then, the doorbell rang. Lena froze. I already knew who it was. I opened the door. There stood our parents. Mom clutching a grocery bag. Dad pale, sweat beading on his forehead. The first words out of Mom's mouth. "Why did the pharmacy say our account was closed?" I stepped aside to let them in. "Because it is," I said. "I stopped paying." Mom blinked in shock. "You're cutting us off?" "I'm reclaiming what's left of my life," I replied. Dad stepped forward. "Son, you've always been the one we could count on." "And I needed you," I snapped. "When I was 15 and juggling 2 jobs while Lena got piano lessons. I needed you when she totaled her 3rd car and somehow blamed me. I needed you when she told me to disappear and you said nothing." "Lena was hurting," Mom whispered. "She didn't mean it." "She meant every word," I said. "And so do I." "You're abandoning your family," Dad said. "For what?" "Your pride." "No," I answered. "For peace." Lena crossed her arms. "Wow. So this is it. You're playing God now." "No," I said. "God forgives. I'm just done playing the victim." I walked over to the drawer, pulled out 3 envelopes, and handed them each one. "Legal notice," I said. "You're officially removed from all my accounts." I turned to Lena. "The car?" "Repossessed. It was in my name." "Your credit cards?" "Shut down." "And the rent you've been mooching off me for the past 3 months?" "Paid through Friday." After that, the locks change. "You're serious?" Mom's voice was barely above a whisper. "As serious," I said, "as when you told me to skip Christmas because Lena was having a rough year. As serious as when Dad said, 'It's just money, Alex. Help your sister.'" Dad's fists clenched. "You'll regret this." "No," I said calmly. "What I regret is all the years I didn't do this sooner." Lena's hands were trembling now. "So what? You're just cutting us loose like we're nothing." "No," I said. "You made yourselves nothing the second you decided I only mattered when you needed a favor." Mom broke down crying, real sobs, deep and desperate. "We don't have anyone else." "You had me," I said. "And you broke me. Now it's your turn to figure it out." I turned toward Lena. "You told me that if I disappeared, no one would miss me." I stepped closer, face to face. "Well, I did just that. And guess what? I don't miss you either." That's when she hit me. I stumbled back a step. The whole room went dead silent. And then I smiled. "You just made this easy," I told her, walking right past all 3 of them. I grabbed her suitcases, one by one, and tossed them out the front door like yesterday's trash. "You've got until sundown," I said. "You're heartless," she shot back, her voice cracking at the edges. "No," I replied. "I finally grew a heart, and this time, I'm keeping it for myself." Mom collapsed into a chair in the kitchen, burying her face in her hands, sobbing like she couldn't breathe. Dad just stood there, eyes empty, like a man watching the last light fade out. "We thought you'd be better than this," he said quietly. "I am," I answered, and then I swung the door open wide. "Out." They stepped outside slowly, like they couldn't quite believe it was happening, like they were waiting for me to fold. For me to back down. But I didn't. I locked the door. I stood there for a long moment afterward, hands still on the doorknob, my cheeks stinging from where Lena had slapped me. And then I laughed. Not a forced, bitter laugh. A real one. But free. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't the background character in someone else's messy script. I was the one who struck the match. And I stood there and watched all the rot finally go up in flames. I slammed that door shut like I was sealing off a chapter of my soul. And I let the road behind me burn. The silence after they left wasn't peaceful. It was clinical, like a surgeon cutting out a tumor. For 37 years, my life had been this cluttered hallway of guilt, duty, and manipulation. But the moment I heard that lock click into place, it felt like someone had finally shut off the blaring siren in my head. But peace? It doesn't come wrapped in calm. It comes like a storm. Those first 3 days? Pure chaos. Lena blew up my phone. Texts, voicemails, emails, even messages on apps I hadn't touched in years. Her tone shifted by the hour. One second she was furious. Then suddenly begging. Then acting sweet like nothing ever happened. And just as fast, back to pure venom. "Enjoy your oat milk while it lasts," she wrote. "I'm your sister. This isn't you." She told Mom what I did. Said I was having a breakdown. That I was abandoning her in a mental health crisis. Then came the calls. Unknown numbers. Family members I hadn't spoken to in a decade. From my side of the family in Detroit. "How could you turn your back on your mom like that? Your own mother cried herself to sleep." Even my cousin Nathan, who once begged me for $5,000 and ghosted me right after, had the nerve to message. "Dude, you always seemed like the mature one. What's going on?" And to all of them I gave the same answer. "Ask Lena where the money went." They usually did the trick. Silence. Total radio silence. Then 5 days in, Mom showed up at my doorstep. Alone. No tears this time. Just cold, hard eyes and a Tupperware container. Her version of waving a white flag. "I made your favorite soup," she said. "Did Lena send you?" I asked. "She's staying with a friend," Mom answered. "Not that it's your business." "Then why are you here?" "I miss my son," she said. "The one who looked out for us." "You mean the one you used?" I said flatly. "Don't do this," she said. "You're hurting the family." "No," I said. "I just stopped bleeding for it." She walked right in and sat down, like she always used to, like the place still belonged to her. "You've always been dramatic, Alex. This martyr thing." "No," I cut in, louder than I meant to. "You don't get to twist the story now. I gave you everything. Paid your rent. Covered Dad's medical bills. Bought Lena's food, her clothes, her therapy, her wellness retreats, her get-out-of-jail cards. I watched you clap for her at every disaster while you called me stable, just to ignore me." Her mouth tightened. "I've earned my silence," I said. "You don't get to guilt me out of it." She tried anyway. Mentioned Dad's health. His heart. Said Lena was spiraling. I didn't budge. I let her talk. Then I stood up, walked to the door and opened it. "You have 5 minutes to leave," I said. "After that, I call security." She looked stunned. "You're really choosing money over blood?" "No," I said. "I'm choosing my sanity." She left without a word. Didn't even take the soup. Week 2 rolled in. And it was quiet. Too quiet. I half expected them to double back. Pull out some last-ditch guilt play. Maybe even get legal. Instead, nothing. And somehow, that was worse. I found out why on day 15. I got an email from Lena's ex. Subject line, "You might want to see this." Inside? Screenshots. Emails. Voice notes. Turns out, Lena had tried to open a credit card in my name a month before she ever came back from New York. She'd been laying the groundwork. Just in case I didn't fold the way she expected. She had my old IDs. My passwords. She used to handle my mail when I traveled, back when I still trusted her. I left way too many doors open. That same day, I called my lawyer. Filed every fraud alert we could. Installed cameras. Changed every password, locked down every account, even that quiet little emergency fund I'd set up for them, just in case. Gone. No more safety nets. By the 3rd week, something inside me shifted. I stopped making apologies in my head. Stopped replaying fake conversations where they finally got it, where we all hugged it out. I understood now. They didn't love me. They loved what I did for them. And once I had nothing left to give, they had nothing left to say. Then week 4 hit. And something kind of amazing happened. I started actually living. Like really living. I woke up without dread in my chest. I drank coffee on the patio without wondering who was going to need a wire transfer. I even went to a bookstore. A damn bookstore. Picked out a novel I actually wanted to read. I laughed during lunch with the guys at work. Joined a gym. Deleted Lena's number from my phone. Then I removed Mom's. Then Dad's. And with each deletion, something in my chest loosened, like I was finally breathing out after holding it in for years. By week 6, a letter showed up in my mailbox. No return address. Just one sentence in shaky handwriting. "You'll always be the villain in our story." I framed it. Hung it right in the hallway. Not as some bitter souvenir, but as a reminder. Not of the pain, but of my freedom. Because honestly, I'd rather be the villain in their story than keep playing the doormat in mine. I didn't reach out. Not when the fraud happened. Not when the guilt letters came. Not even after the made-up health scares or the accidental 2 a.m. calls. I was finished. That version of me, the one they leaned on, drained, manipulated, he doesn't live here anymore. The first few weeks after cutting them off felt like detox. I hadn't realized just how deeply wired I was to worry about them, to plan for their problems, to cover their bills. There were mornings I'd shoot awake in a panic, thinking I'd miss Dad's prescription refill, or Lena's therapy payment, or the electricity bill for a place that wasn't even mine. Then it would hit me, none of that was on me anymore. And that realization? It was like breathing real air for the first time since I was 11. I stopped saying sorry for setting boundaries. Stopped flinching when the phone buzzed. Stopped hearing their voices in my head every time I made a choice that served me. I started eating better, sleeping longer, taking actual weekends off. No spreadsheets. No emergency budgets for someone else's mess. I began learning what quiet felt like, inside. But that peace didn't last forever. Because of course they came back. Only this time, I was ready. It was a Thursday. Clear skies, sun shining. I had a rare day off, and I was deep into a book I couldn't put down. Then I got a text from my neighbor. Hey, some people are banging on your door. Want me to call someone? I stepped outside. There they were. Lena. Standing on my porch like ghosts. Not older. Just emptier. Like whatever fuel had kept them going had finally run dry. Like the lies didn't work anymore, and now they were staring at the truth. I wasn't coming back. I didn't open the door. Didn't say a word. Just looked at them through the glass. Mom mouthed something. So did Lena. Dad stared at the ground. Whether it was shame or just an effort not to meet my eyes, I don't know. Didn't matter. I knew why they were there. Not for forgiveness. Not for truth. They came because the circus had shut down. And the only clown who used to pay the bills had walked out of the tent. I raised my hand. Held up 2 fingers. They waited a minute. Then they turned and walked away. As their car pulled off, I realized something powerful, something that filled me with quiet strength. They didn't scare me anymore. Not their guilt. Not their manipulation. Not their stories. Not their silence. None of it. They had no power left here. Weeks rolled into months. Sometimes people would ask, "Don't you miss them?" And I'd tell the honest truth. I missed the version of them I invented. The imaginary parents and sister I pictured just to survive the ones I actually had. Because the real versions? They taught me the hard way. That love, to them, was conditional. That money equaled loyalty. That staying silent meant staying safe. But not anymore. Now I wasn't surviving. I was living. Then, one night, Lena's ex messaged me again. "Guess who just pawned her last handbag?" he wrote. "She's crashing on people's couches now." I stared at the message. Then hit delete. Not because I was angry, but because I finally didn't care. I didn't want her hurt. I just stopped carrying her suffering on my back. A full year after I cut ties, I stood in front of the house they tried to rip from me. Same kitchen. Same lemon tree outside the window. But something inside me had shifted. I wasn't haunted anymore. I was healing. Still a little scarred. Still a bit cracked. But free. I got a new phone. New number. Changed the locks. Made new friends. The kind who saw me. Not as a wallet with a pulse. Not as the strong one who never snapped. Not as the ghost sibling in someone else's golden child fantasy. Just me. A man who burned down the myth of a happy family and walked out stronger on the other side. A man who stopped bleeding just to prove he was still alive. And most of all, a man who finally learned something important. That sometimes, the kindest thing you can do is walk away and never look back. Final note. If you're the kind of person who always says yes, even when it tears you apart, if you were raised to believe your value is measured by what you give, then let this be your permission slip. You don't owe anyone your own destruction. Not even the people who share your blood. Especially not them. Walking away isn't betrayal. Sometimes it's the first step back to yourself. And when they tell you, you've changed, you smile and say, I had to.